Hi everyone, this is Heidi, counsellor, psychotherapist, specialised in working with and supporting young people and young adults. If this is you, this is your podcast, and welcome to episode 9, We Are All Fine, an acronym for flawed, insecure, nervous and emotional. You know, I'm aiming to work with our flaws, our insecurities and our anxieties and make them our own rather than something we dread or avoid. This week, I want to talk to you about how and why we form attachments to the people the way we do. Understanding your attachment style can be beneficial for so many reasons. It's going to help you understand your behaviour and how you react in those relationships and identify your patterns of relating. Knowing why you attach and how will totally improve your relationships by addressing your underlying needs and patterns. It's going to help you understand why you have trouble being close to others or feeling like you can't trust anybody. This knowledge of your attachment style that I'll share with you today is going to promote positive changes, self-compassion, and will bring you more fulfilling connections with other people. Working with attachment as a young person's counsellor is such a helpful thing for me to do because it allows me to see how my clients understand themselves and how they react in certain ways. Because our attachment to our primary carer begins to develop in the womb and our attachment styles are influenced by all of our experiences from when we're born to every moment we have, they always continue to evolve throughout your life. I believe attachment styles will differ even between people who've had similar experiences. Attachment is basically in everything you do as a human being. They're not set in stone and they're not fixed personality traits. They're just one explanation about how we relate to others or how we commonly attach to those people around us. Let me explain more about them. The concept of attachment styles grew from attachment theory and the research that emerged throughout the 60s and 70s. And today, mental health professionals typically recognise 4 types of attachment style: secure, anxious, avoidant and disorganised. With avoidant, anxious and disorganised considered insecure attachment styles. Let's start with what a secure attachment is going to look like. You're going to be more comfortable with intimacy and closeness. You're going to be trusting of others, and often you're going to be able to handle conflicts or difficult situations in a constructive way. You're going to feel confident in relationships and you won't worry too much about being abandoned or rejected. In relation to your childhood, secure attachment is the result of a caregiver or a parent being able to attend to and respond to your emotional and physical needs. If the parent does a good enough job, you're more likely to have a secure attachment as you grow up. If you have a secure attachment style, you're going to have a good level of self-esteem. You're going to express your needs and feelings more openly. You'll be able to communicate better. You will have trust and a typical solid sense of self-worth. You'll manage your emotions effectively and you'll respond to others in a supportive and understanding way, and you'll be reliable. People will see you as dependable and trustworthy. You'll probably have a positive view of yourself and other people too, making it easier to build and maintain those healthy relationships. And you'll have a good level of empathy. You'll be able to understand and share your feelings with other people, fostering stronger connections. An anxious attachment style, on the other hand, is characterised by a strong desire for closeness and a fear of abandonment and rejection. If this is your style, you're going to often seek constant reassurance and validation and may become overly dependent in your relationships. This style is often linked to inconsistent caregiving during childhood. Your needs may not have been met, or you've been starved of regular and predictable emotional love and acceptance. If you have an anxious attachment style, you'll have an excessive need for reassurance from your partners, your friends, your family. You'll be constantly questioning their love and their commitment to you. You'll probably be quite a clingy person. You'll struggle to be alone and you'll seek the attention from other people. Definitely going to be an overthinker, jumping to conclusions about your partners or your friends' moods or actions, often interpreting them in a negative manner. And you will have people-pleasing characteristics. You'll prioritise your partner's needs over your own, just to avoid the conflict or the rejection. An avoidant attachment style, the third one, is characterized by discomfort with intimacy, a strong desire for independence, and difficulty trusting others. Let's unpack that a little bit more. Individuals with avoidant attachment find emotional closeness uncomfortable and may actively seek and try to avoid it. They'll strongly value their own autonomy and independence and may be really quite stifled or disturbed by intimacy and closeness, and they will have a real wariness of others and struggle to fully trust people. They may hide their feelings and emotions and making it difficult for others to connect with them. And they're going to have defense mechanisms right there, distancing themselves or becoming overly critical to protect themselves from any kind of emotional vulnerability. The cause for this style of attachment will start in early childhood as well. They'll have a negative view of relationships. You might have had a perception of relationships. You don't see the value in being close or intimate. Finally, the fourth attachment style we'll be talking about today is disorganized attachment. Individuals with disorganized attachment will experience a mixture of wanting to have that closeness with somebody, but fearing the rejection or the abandonment. They're going to desire a loving relationship, but then when somebody gets a little bit too close, they're going to push that person away or lash out. They're going to switch abruptly between clinging and distancing, or between being over affectionate, then withdrawing and becoming cold and angry. They're going to struggle to regulate their own emotions, keeping them stable, and they'll definitely have difficulty responding to others' emotions as well. They're going to find it difficult to trust others and to open up emotionally, fearing that doing so is going to lead to some form of hurt or rejection. They're going to struggle with expressing their needs and desires in a clear and coherent way, particularly when it comes to being close to somebody or being intimate. Causes of this attachment style will definitely link back to an inconsistent or unpredictable style of caregiving or parenting from the people that were bringing you up. This will happen because you wouldn't have been able to fully understand or predict how your parents or how your caregivers would respond to you. And any kind of exposure to trauma or abuse, particularly during childhood, will lead to a disorganized attachment. A history of inconsistent or unreliable caregiving will lead to a total fear of rejection and abandonment. That's going to make it really hard for you to feel safe enough in yourself to establish secure relationships. There are obvious causes for all of the attachment styles we've talked about, and the role of the caregiver or your parent, that significant person in your life during childhood, and the level of difficulty, including any kind of trauma or abuse or any kind of adverse situation, will all lead to your level of attachment as you progress throughout your adolescence and into adulthood. But before we start looking at how we can change up or switch our attachment styles, because you can, let's have the question for a counsellor. I chose this as it links in with the topic of attachment and how we form relationships. The question for the counsellor on this episode of We Are All Fine, Flawed, Insecure, Nervous and Emotional is this. I have started counselling with a college counsellor and I don't think we get on. Is this normal? The simple answer is yes. This is totally normal. It's okay and not uncommon and not to have that connection with another counsellor. I hear many of my clients share a similar experience with me, and I'm also sure that I haven't connected with some of the people I've worked with as well. I think it's things like personality, commonality, diversity. They all play a real part in the forming and developing of a therapeutic relationship. If you don't feel the connection, it's unlikely the therapy is going to be effective for you. You might find it helpful to think why you've not connected. Does the counsellor remind you of somebody in your life, possibly somebody you didn't connect with or struggled with? Do they look like somebody you have known and not connected with? And was their approach maybe too challenging or not challenging enough for you maybe? It is typical in a first session of counselling for the therapist to ask some questions. I do it because I want to try and gather the data I need to be able to understand how it is to live in my client's shoes, to have that empathy, to see the world from their point of reference. But maybe that was hard for you to do with this particular counsellor. Maybe you didn't feel that you could connect, or you felt you could trust that person. The relationship needs to be in situ before any of the work can be done in therapy. So the trust, the rapport, the acceptance and the warmth are crucial for you to feel you can open up and talk about the way you're feeling. You might want to share taking this into therapy. Tell your therapist how you're feeling. They're going to be willing to listen to you, and I hope that they're going to explore what this might be bringing up for you. There might be some real good work to be done there. Please don't be put off by this if you've not connected straight away with your counsellor. If this is the right time for you, you will find the right therapist. Changing your attachment style is becoming more aware of the one you have currently, understanding its roots, the source of it, and consciously working towards healthier patterns of relating. It can be achieved through therapy, self-reflection, and consistently practicing new behaviours in relationships. Let's talk about how you can develop a more secure attachment style. You need to challenge your negative thinking, so start questioning your assumptions and your beliefs about your relationships with other people. You'll need to build a stronger self-esteem. This will increase your self-worth and your level of self-belief and confidence. You'll do this by practicing assertiveness. Learn to express your needs and feelings openly and honestly. One of the things I share with my clients about my definition of assertiveness is it's a psychological skill to get what you want without harming another person. When you become more assertive within your own self, your relationships with other people, you are then able to set those healthy boundaries. This requires a level of respect for yourself and for the other person. Try seeking the relationships with securely attached individuals. Now, these relationships can really provide you a healthy model of attachment as well. And practice self-soothing. Develop those healthy coping mechanisms for managing your anxiety and your stress. Mindfulness, journaling, anything to do with nature, exercise, lifestyle choices. Finding those pleasures, those joys in life, they'll be individual to each of us, where we can self-soothe and calm down that central nervous system ourselves without seeking reassurance from someone else to do it for us. And finally, be patient and persistent. Changing your attachment style, like any behaviour or thought system that we change, takes time and effort. Practice, and it will pay off, I promise you. I think the takeaways from me to you today are these. Finding safe and healthy and equal relationships will allow you to adapt and shift your attachment style. Stretching your comfort zone is part of this process for you. So understanding the root of your attachments, then working to challenge that until you start to feel more comfortable within your own self. Trust yourself, remember. I'm always saying this. You're the expert on you. You need to take the lead on this, and I know you can do it. Which brings me to the final segment of our podcast, Therapy Thought. A tip for identifying negative thoughts that float around in your mind all the time. Now, our minds are thought processing machines, creating and sifting through as many as 60 to 70,000 thoughts and ideas in any given day. If we were to attend to each one of these, we would be overwhelmed by the flood of information we would be surrounded by. Thankfully, that's not how our brains work. Most thoughts will just come in and enter without much awareness from ourselves. But if yours are stuck on loop and get stuck in that thinking cycle, try using the 3C approach, which is taken from cognitive behavioral therapy. I think it's a really clever way, a quick go-to way of identifying negative thinking and changing it before you start heading down rumination street. The first C stands for catching. You need to start catching the thoughts that are associated with a specific experience or a negative emotion. You'll need to do this by tuning into the mindful moments that you'll have. You can do this by slowing down your brain, listening to your body. It's trying to get your attention and giving yourself those milliseconds you need just to put your thinking brain back into action to catch those similar and familiar thoughts. The next step, the second C, stands for checking. You need to check the thought. A good way of doing this is gather evidence for or against the thought and consider alternative explanations to the situation or the feeling. Are your thoughts fact or are your thoughts fictional? The third part of the process, we've caught the thought, we've checked in with the thought, we've evidenced it against fact or fiction, and now we're going to change it. The more you catch, check and change the thoughts, the more your brain will build the habit and build those neural pathways. So it's going to become more habitual and easier for you to get to those thoughts. Catch, check and change. That, my lovely, lovely people listening to this, was episode 9 done, and 10 is on its way. I'll be using the 10th episode to show you how you can accept the feelings of uncertainty rather than trying to always find the certainty in life. Trust me, you can't and you never will. So accepting life is full of uncertainty really is the only certainty that we all have. If you have liked what you've heard today, please tell others and share this episode. If you've loved what you've heard, please rate the show. All your feedback is welcome and I love hearing from all of you. So feel free to reach out and get in touch via Heidi, we are all fine at gmail.com. That's Heidi, we are all fine at gmail.com. And please remember to send me your questions for next week's show for Question for the Counsellor. Subscribing to my podcast is easy, as is finding me on all the usual social media platforms. Thinking TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. Your comments are all read and appreciated, and so are all your feedback and all of your likes. So thank you for that. Remember, I'm here to remind you every single week that we are all fine, and that means, flawed, insecure, nervous and emotional. But always remember, be yourself. You are no one else. Until next time, you take care. Finally, some important takeaways. This podcast is for informational use only and should not be used as a substitution for professional advice or personal diagnosis. These opinions are personal, and I do not guarantee the accuracy of such opinions or information. I'm not intending to create a counselling relationship with you, and you should always consult a qualified mental health professional with any concerns.